Well, in South Carolina, the emotional pursuit for justice for George Stinney Jr. He was just 14 years old in 1944 when he was executed for the murder of two white girls. Stinney, a black teenager, is the youngest person put to death in this country in the past century. But his family says he was framed and was not given due process. And even if they can't bring him back, they want to clear his name. And all eyes now are on a judge's decision. Will Stinney's conviction be overturned? Will he be granted what they call a new trial, despite the fact that he was executed? Lawyers tell NBC News that it is likely a decision could come in this story today. We've been following this for some time now. And joining me live now is Bristow Marchant, a reporter for the Sumter Item. Thank you so much for joining us on this morning, Bristow. So again, NBC News is learning a decision could come today. What are you hearing?
Well, I haven't heard that, Tamron. The filing deadline for arguments in this case came last week, and frankly, I was thinking we could have a decision then just coming down within days of that deadline passing as the judge reviews those briefings that she's received from all the sides. Now it's really on her timetable. She could issue a ruling today. It could come down in a month. We don't know at this point.
Wow, and that is incredible. You have the family and those who are advocates for George Stinney and who've devoted many hours and great part of their lives as far as his relatives to clear his name. In fact, the attorney on behalf of the NAACP said this in an AP article. Put simply, the present case presents an egregious miscarriage of justice caused by the confluence of time, geography, and a racial climate that would not be permitted today. That is that half of the conversation. We know the family members of the two girls who were killed believe that George Stinney was responsible in this case. But, you know, this is an amazing amount of time, and the details, if nothing else, has opened our eyes and shed light on this case and the lack of due process. I mean, you can certainly have an opinion on guilt or innocence, but the due process and the way that this young man was coerced into confessing, where ice cream was used to bait him, is certainly and should be disturbing to anyone.
Certainly, certainly. And, you know, this is a very unusual case looking back at it now from 70 years since. Today, a minor like this, it just couldn't be tried in the same way. He couldn't have received the death penalty. He certainly wouldn't have received it so quickly. It was about, I think, 80 days between when the murder occurred and when he was arrested that same day. Through the trial, which only lasted about 2 hours, there was no defense presented. And then just a couple months after that, no appeal ever filed. And then he went to the electric chair, like you said, is the youngest American put to death in the 20th century.
And the details of even the execution, as I've read, he was so small that he had to sit on Bibles so that he could reach, be executed in the chair because of his slight size here. But the people who've been pushing for this and behind the effort to clear his name, what are they saying ultimately that they would like here from the judge? Is it to say he was innocent? Is it to say that due process? What is the ultimate goal here?
Well, the attorneys for the family, the surviving relatives, have put a couple different options before the judge here. One is a motion to grant a retrial based on the testimony that was heard in a hearing here at the courthouse last month from his surviving brother and his two sisters, which was basically an alibi statement saying he was with them, with the family, overnight when these young girls disappeared and were ultimately found murdered. That was never presented at the trial. Really no supporting testimony for George Stinney was presented at the trial, and they're trying to get that verdict set aside and order a new trial. They're also pursuing what's called a writ of coram nobis, that the judge could just set aside the verdict entirely and rule the initial proceedings were just too improper to stand.
All right, we'll continue to follow the developments, and again, as you point out, a decision could be made today or if the judge decides even a month away, and we'll be following it whenever it happens. Thank you so much, Bristow.